Yeah, hello, and welcome back to the grind. Buster and I are here. So, can you hear that? That's some good news in here. So I got the motor back into it, got it all, everything hooked up to it, set the timing, set the carburetors. The only thing I've got going wrong on it is a exhaust leak right there that I'll have to address and fix. But that's a fixable thing. It has to cool off, so I can do that. But everything is working the way it's supposed to. All of the way the richness is supposed to work. It's happy. I think it's happy on both sides. Not as happy on that side, but throttle's very responsive. I think I've got it close to right. Set the timing with a timing light, and all together and all running. So stick around to see what all happened with it. It's pretty nice to have it running again, and it sounds really good. So enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Yeah, here I am. Me and Buster. Buster and I? Yeah, the Buster and I. Back with the TR7. Now, I've got the motor all put together in there and just ready to drop this into it. And so, don't you know, here's look at that. Nice new power washer. Isn't that nice? So I had a bunch of air miles. And the air miles people, they keep on sending me little notes that say, hey, use up your air miles before they expire. I had dream miles. I don't know what that is, but I really don't use air miles very much anymore. I'm mostly just an Avion guy, right? So the air miles paid for that, which is quite nice, and they also paid for another outdoor camera that I can put on the house here when it arrives. So I had enough air miles for that, which is like I had 4,000 air miles or something. And I did try to use them one time, like on an airplane trip, but then COVID happened and I got all my air miles back. Oh well. Anyway, but I'm back to the pressure. The point of the story is pressure washer. Clean out the engine compartment. Isn't that nice and clean? There's the original color of the car, I think, right there. So I'll scuff that up a bit and then put a bit of paint where it needs paint. I've got a, whatever you call those things, a rubber thing to go in there, and grommet, that's what it's called. And I think I've got the grommet that goes on here somewhere on the planet. That's a little bit bent. What a surprise. And so this car has a new brake master cylinder, and that works quite well. Okay, brakes. That's my bane of existence is brakes. So here we're going to slide this back into the other shop. In there, I'll push it in there, and then before it rains on me, and then I'll put the Porsche in here before it rains on me, and then we'll get at it. So there's the Mini sitting there. One of these days I'll do something with that, but I think that one there is going to come first, and that one there is definitely first. I've got the parts that I need for that in the house. They just arrived yesterday or the day before. So that might be, when I get the motor into this and it running, then I might get onto that again. Okay, what? Oh dear, that's sitting there too. I'm not too awful fussed about getting that going anytime soon because I'm having trouble finding insurance for it, number one, and it's sort of a wall hanger maybe for now until I get around to wanting to drive it. This one here is roadworthy, and I take it and get groceries with it and stuff like that, but I even haven't had it out yet this year. So I'm not an avid biker anymore, am I? I guess not. Anyway, that's I'll get this into the other shop and we'll get working on it. in the shop. Pushed it in with the tractor. It's pretty easy to push in here. Not much weight to it. And that's all pretty clean. I'm gonna let that dry. Then I'll put it on the lift and I'll paint up any spots that I've missed from previous repaints, and then like this green stuff here. Most of it, like I hit it with a high pressure, so the black paint stayed on for most of the parts. So I'm happy with that. Then this thing here showed up, so I'm ready to attempt putting the motor back into it. See how that works out. But for now, I'll just let it dry out. I've got a new flagpole for out front, so I'm going to install that today. Mostly ready to put the motor back in, right there. That thing, so what I'll have to do is raise it a little bit, take it off these wheelie things, push it back until it's far enough back that that thing there can come down, and then push it forward again onto the underneath the motor. So I'll lift the motor up, move the car underneath it, and then go from there. See how that works out. And that'll leave the back end slightly elevated, because I'll leave it on those things, and I'll leave this on the ground, and I'll get it lined up to go in the right direction. Well, we'll just see what happens. Then once I get it up and the motor sort of in, I can then lift it up on these wheelie things again. And at that time I'll move it back and forth a bit if I have to. Anyway, that'll be the plan. I have a plan. I don't know if it's a great plan. My biggest worry is putting the motor through the windshield, so I'll be careful not to do that. So I went through all the inside of the motor here, except for right there, and gave it a little bit of black paint where it was scratched up and stuff like that. So it's all looks pretty good, and I'm pretty sure we'll be happy with it all. Well, here I am. Whoop! Start that again. Here I am back again. It's I've cleaned up most of the engine bay, and you know, there was a few spots that were scratched up from use and wear and tear. So I've just put a little bit of paint on them, and then so it looks all right. Black engine bay. I know some people don't like black engine bays. They like the color of the car, but that didn't happen on this one. Anyway, and the trunk is black inside too, so that's consistent at nothing else. Anyway, now I'm going to see about, well, number one, I'll get this off these little wheelie things, push it back another little bit. I'll put a board across the back of the garage so it doesn't go too far. Then I can get this onto this thing here, onto that, lift it up, and I'll slide the car back in underneath it, I hope. We'll just see how that works out of it, because it was looking like it was going to get wrecked.
What's this thing here for? Is that something I've missed out on?
Oh dear, I don't know. We'll find out soon. See what'll happen. So I've got this one hooked on here, and this one hooked on to the head over here. And see if it goes up. I'll just put you in the vise. How's that? If you want to watch and see what happens here. Yeah, around about there. We'll just maybe even zoom it in a bit, right? See what happens if it goes up. How likely it might be standing in your way, or maybe not. This I guess we'll see what happens. I don't know if I should have more that way. Well, we'll lift it up and see what happens. Get it in there and see if I can get it up high enough for that to go up over the front without scratching anything. I think it will. It looks like it's got a good 2 feet to go there. Anyway, up it goes. Yeah, well, now that I've got it up there, I might just put another beam across that for the next time, because that thing's pretty heavy. And that's just two 2x6s. They're both screwed together pretty good there, but have a look at this side and see how it looks. Yeah, there's a knot right there, hey? A good knot right there. Wait till I get you zoomed in here a bit. Always great to be checking this stuff out after you have the motor way up. See that knot right there, hey? And that's exactly opposite. Not quite. There's a knot right, right there. So the other knot's about there. So they're not exactly opposite, but that's knotty pine, and it might be very, very knotty, hey? Anyway, we'll just, whoa, that's close in. I'll push the car. I gotta get you unzoomed here. This camera here is, it never, difficult to be zoom in on this camera. Anyway, there, back to normal. So it's high enough now that the car will slide in underneath it, underneath this bit here. It's got to go up over that little hump here and then underneath it. So, well, I hope everything works okay. Maybe I should I'll put a blanket down on here a little bit. And we've got it in that far. And it's actually like swinging free there. So I can twist it more to bring that end up. I had to lay it down in close to the cradle there to shorten that up so that it brought the motor over more level. And might have to do that again or else drop that side a bit. Well, we'll just see how it goes. This down here you can see the motor mount touches up against the oil pan there, so I have to level it up a bit, push the car forward a bit, and then see what happens. Okay, that's what I'll do. See what happens. Make sure I'm going the right way here. Yeah, that levels. This thing here is not a great design because it hits on there. But I can likely lift the back of the motor up with a jack and then be able to get, this has to go into there. One casualty was the distributor cap is broken. Anyhow, but there's a piece of it down there. I likely might be able to put it all back together to get it started while I order a new one. Anyway, we'll carry on here. And this oil cap it's not enjoying its ride either. Okay. Well, I'm getting closer. This motor mount is in a spot. I'm not going to put a nut on it because I won't, just in case it pulls out again. And this motor mount is pretty close to coming down on top of this right spot there. Can you see that down there? Yeah, there's the bolt coming up, and I think it's held in there. Now the way I've accomplished that is I put a jack underneath the back of the transmission just to hold it up and make it more level. I think I'll go up a little bit more. That should do. And that makes it so it comes down more level, right? Then I can move the car back and forth a bit to bring it to where I want it to be. So now that side there has gone into its spot. This side here, we'll just let the jack down, let it down a bit more, and just see if we can drop it into its correct spot there. And if that works, then I can put a strap underneath the transmission, lift the whole car up and work at it from underneath. But that's maybe a tomorrow thing. What time is it here? 4:30. Oh yeah, might be able to get it in by the end of the day here. Yeah, okay, so now I bolted that down there, right? I just put a bolt on snug, not tight. This one over this motor mount over on this side is pretty close to lined up, but not quite lined up. So I'm gonna put it in the air, which I've got it up on the hoist now.
Hopefully everything's okay. Yeah, it looks all right.
And I just jammed a 2x4 in there to hold it from coming up against the heater stuff whilst I get the back of the transmission hooked in properly. So everybody should have a hoist. Well, that one's kind of on the edge, eh? I guess all right. Anyway, now this thing here has got to get pushed up into place. But first, this part here has got to go on, right? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So what I'll do, I think, is I'll get a strap, put it underneath here, and see if I can get that just strapped up a bit. Because everything seems to be all right. Cool. No, the only casualty was the distributor, which I'm pretty sure I can fix up. And there's some wires hanging around in here. I don't know what they're supposed to do. I guess they'll be all, well, I get them out of the way before too long. Anyway, there you go. This is the bracket at the back here, but the first thing I had to do was get the gear shift assembly back on there, which I don't know if you can see up in here. Can you see up in there? Whoa, what's going on? Turn this way a bit. See if that looks up in there. You see right, where's my finger, I wonder? Oh, underneath here. Can't see very well in there. But that, maybe from the other side you can see. Can't really see. Too much stuff in the way, right? Right in there. Yeah. So this thing here, this is where the gear shift linkage hooks into it. And there's a little, there's a shaft that goes through the shaft, and then that hooks onto there. That was the most difficult part to get in, but really not that tough. It's sort of, you have to hold your tongue right and get it in there. And then these things here, that's they hold on, and there's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, another one up there. They hold on, and then this is the gear shift linkage attached. Then I held it up with my, what do you call that thing, my transmission jack, and was able to get this on, including this cable that goes through the motor here. And that's just like a safety cable to keep the motor from taking off, I guess. Now the only thing left now is this one transmission mount, or one engine mount right here isn't seated right. So I'll use my jack and I'll lift this up a bit and see if I can get it to go in there right. This side here is in, but I don't have a nut on it. So I'm going to put a nut on it and then I'll jimmy around with that one. But that'll be for tomorrow because it's quitting time now. And that's all right. Motor's in there. I'll let the car down overnight and then get after it again tomorrow. Yeah, there we go. Now, right or wrong, it's all out. So we'll just, I want to check, there's a return hose right there for the, what do you call that? For the fuel system. And I'm going to check and see if that's plugged or anything there, because I think it is. Anyway, there it is in there. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now. Back with the TR7, right? There's the TR7 up there. And so I had this motor mount on this side. I had that in its slot, okay. And then this motor mount on this side was just not quite right. I don't know if you can see it in there. It's right in there. And so I put a tarp strap here, or a ratchet strap, pulled it this way a bit, put a ratchet strap in the back, pulled it that way a bit, and then it fell right in. So I'll get those ratchet straps out, and I'll get this jack out here. I had that lifting it up just to take the pressure off the bolt. And I was able to get the nut on there, but I haven't got it tightened yet. That's going to be an ordeal to tighten that thing in there. Anyway, but I guess that's what I'm good at, is ordeals, eh? Right? We'll see. Into there, that little spot there to tighten that. I don't know. Can you see that? Maybe. Anyhow, this wrench here, 17 millimeter. Thanks, John. Another one of Debbie's stepdad's tools. That just the right length and a really good wrench. Anyway, there we go. A couple more nuts back here. Right here, here, and here. These two also that thread up from underneath. This is not ready to put on there yet. The clutch thing is on. Now the thread in here had pulled. Am I looking? Yeah, the thread in here had pulled. So I threaded it with a longer bolt, but just a Allen key thing. This side here is okay. Anyway, that was something I did a long time ago. Another thing I noticed while I was apart here, while it's up in the air, there's a little bit of a shake to the wheel here, so I have to tighten that wheel bearing up a bit, which is okay. And then now I have to put these bolts in the motor mount back here. Then I'll put the prop shaft on. Well, things are coming along all right. Oh yeah, and I hooked up the electricity to the starter up there. Okay. All right, I'll carry on there. Not tightened on yet. So this fitting at the back is different than the fitting at the front, so it'll only go on one way. You can't put it on backwards. So that's good news, because I was wondering if I had it on backwards. A little bit of a bend in that thing right there. I guess it got whacked one time. Oh well. And then this is on. I might have to change that bolt, because I don't think that bolt's really good. This one here is a good steel bolt. And then when I was putting the muffler on, I forgot to put this bolt out first. So now I have to take it apart here. And, well, that's not too tough to do, eh? I guess I can do that. It is on. Now, as I was tightening it up, I found, I don't know if you can see that, there's a couple of chisel marks there in the on the front and the back and the front. So they should line up, right? Of course they didn't. I had most of the one bolt tightened down and the rest of them in before I noticed, but that's pretty simple. So I went and looked at the front, and there's no marks on the front anywhere that show that it should. So this one here, it only goes on one way. Well, it'll go on two ways, but it won't, because this is a wider gap than that. So it'll go on that way or upside down. And I think that either way it'll be balanced. So that's all right. Okay. Yeah, and there I've got that bracket. That's the bracket, a homemade bracket that I made myself. And then this is on. And that's the speedometer cable thing right there is on. So now it's just a matter of figuring out the rest of it. Retightened up this, so there's no more play in the wheel there. And that's good. I'll be due for brake rotors sometime, because that one there is a little bit warped, and likely that was who knows, eh? Anyway, that's the way it is. There, we can call that motor officially in, which is nice. The motor mounts are tightened down back and front. All the stuff underneath is pretty near done, I think. Might have to go down there for a couple more things just to check. Now it's just a matter of putting together the stuff on top again, which is good. I can do that. And that'll be a tomorrow thing. this exhaust manifold's on. I have to put a nut on that one there because that one, it it doesn't tighten up. The threads are gone inside the manifold, so I put a nut on this side of it to tighten it down. This one here tightens down okay. That one there has got a stud in there that I welded in a while ago, and it's still holding, so it must be okay. This board I can take out of here now, hey? I don't need that. And so I think we're coming along all right. I did hook up the electricity to the starter down there, and the wires come up here. Now I'll just, and while I was at it, I ordered up a new distributor cap and rotor for this thing. Oh. But while I'm waiting for that to come along, I've just super glued this together, and I'm sure it'll hold to start the car. We'll just see. So I'll just there you go. See how that works out. Gorilla super glue. We'll find out how super that super glue is. Anyway, that might hold together just to get the car started and things like that. But that's enough for today. It's 5:30. Time to go make supper. See ya later. Well, here I am back at the TR7, right? And don't you know, I'll show you here. The trunk is a great place for all these pieces that go on top. All these things, I wonder what the hell that is. Oh well, that'll be readily apparent sometime in the millennium. Okay, so all these pieces have to go onto the car, and don't know where they came from, but most of them are self-evident. Now I did check out, like, remember I said sometime, this hose, that's the return hose that goes from the carburetors to wherever it goes to. And it's supposed to be free flowing, but it doesn't seem to be. Like, it seems to be a bit of back pressure on that. And that creates back pressure on the carburetors, and then that pushes fuel out the overflow, like it pushes raw fuel into the carburetor up through the up through the jets. So I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to make it so that there's a real vent on that of some sort. Maybe I'll vent it so that it's air vents above everything. I don't know. I'll think about it. No, I'll have to make it so the air vents and goes down there, so if there's any sort of overflow, it'll spill down. But I might make, like, I'll have a Y tube on it and might go that way. Who knows what'll happen. Anyhow, but it seems to that hose goes way back to the fuel tank, and I put a new line on there when I was doing things. It goes way back to the fuel tank, and if you look in here, it hooks in there right at the filler cap. And then that's a pressurized filler cap. Everything's pressurized in there, so maybe I should just block it off and make a vent hose like they did in the old days. They had a little vent hose coming off, and it would allow, just a venting for the top of the carburetor. Might just do that, because it seems to be, with this the way it is now, whether it was designed that way or whether it's something that has happened in the meantime is we don't know for sure, but I'll think about it and I'll do something about it. It's hooked up over, oops, here I am again. I've got the heater hoses hooked up. I put a new heater hose on the bottom one, and I had worked up that, you see that little copper thing right over there, copper thing, that hose is like a molded hose from the factory that comes around, but they're unobtainium, right? So I built a little thing out of copper just to make make it so to do a quick U-turn without kinking the hose. Now, that was last year I did that. Put on the hood latch thing, got the fuel hooked up. I've got something going on there so I can have a little bit of a vent on that return line. I'll put a fuel filter at this side of it, just to well, number one, keep the mud wasps out of there, and number two is to just keep the see if something to collect some fuel if fuel happens to fall into there. We'll just see. Then the other thing is now I think I'm ready to. I did some wiring. Like, the wiring's pretty simple. There's one wire goes to the that's the heater thing there, the heat sensor, and another wire goes down to the bottom of the back of the right here. That wire goes down to the back of the alternator. So that's all the wiring there, and then the rest of the wiring is to the starter, which I've done already, and up here to this coil. Like, I've got an electronic ignition in it, so this little plug here, I don't know, can you see that? Yeah, that little white plug there plugs in the distributor. And I did put the distributor cap on it, the broken distributor cap. So next is get the carburetors on, and I think it's then I'll put the radiator in it, and I think that's all that needs to happen before I start it. Cool. Now here's something interesting. So I put this carburetor on here and tightened it down. Then I found out that you have to put them both together to put them on. But when I pull it off, that didn't squish out. See, all the goopy stuff squished out except for there. So that means that's not connecting. So that means I have to get some thicker goopy goop stuff, right? So perhaps I'll just put this carburetor on and see if it seals everything, and then decide what I have to do about sealing them up. I did suspect there was a air leak on that carburetor, and I could never chase it, or I could never find it. So that's where it is, right there at the bottom, vacuum leak. Okay, well now that explains a couple of things about this car that I can never get going right. Yeah, so this side here seats on well. That side there, I'll have to do something about that because it's not seating properly. So I'll just put some of that blue goop down. Whoops, sorry. So I'll put some of that blue goop around this one. But I don't want to get that blue goop into the carburetor. So, wish I had a new gasket for it, but I don't. Anyway, well, I don't know whether a new gasket would help it or not, but we'll see if I can get that sealed up. Now I just put some of that blue gasket maker down on that one. Oh, there's a wasp in here. And just down here where it wasn't sealing. The rest of the gasket seals okay, so I'm not gonna screw with a good thing. This one here, I'm not even gonna put any more on there because it's got enough already on it, and it seals well all the way around. Then you have to put the drives onto the carburetors and then put them all together. Like, you put it all together and put them on there. It's a, well, I call it a pain. Yeah, it's a pain. Yeah, we'll see if I can get it to happen. So this side here, that's the choke mechanism, and then this is the back carburetor, and then this is the throttle mechanism, right? Come on. And it's on a spring, of course. Well, until I get the other one on there. You're not supposed to do that. Yeah, often when stuff like that happens, it's like peanut butter and it falls down on the, lands on there, but it didn't. Yay. So we'll try that again. Maybe we'll do it a little bit differently. That goes on there, right? wasn't that easy, right? Choke is okay. Forget how that works anyhow. Oh yeah, you pull up on this and it makes the other side go. Okay. All right, now it's just a matter of getting all those nuts and bolts on there, which is a pain in the ass too. But that's gonna work. I'll put this side on first and let it squish down. Okay. Yeah, so that's all working okay for the throttle part. Where is it? Pull on that, throttle goes. But this part here, I've got that on the wrong side. This should be here, and this, yeah, that one should be there, and that one should be here, because this side pulls, and that one there. Yeah, so this, I had it wrong before anyhow. This one here should be on that side. Then when you pull on the choke, or maybe it goes in that little hole there. Yeah, it goes in that little hole. Okay, a little hole right there. So that goes in the little hole, that goes in the little hole, and then they work in tandem. But don't have to take it all apart. You can just loosen that off and set it in there. That's good. Okay, here it is. Now, there I've got that in the right spot here and in the right spot there. I just loosened that screw and that screw, pulled that over, pushed it back into place. This thing here you can set up the same way. Anyway, I won't do any more today because I've got a invite to dinner. So away I go, out to dinner. So I'll see you tomorrow perhaps. Bye for now. Here I am back again at the TR7. Now I've got the carburetors on yesterday now, and I put some of that blue goop behind here. Hopefully that'll, well, we'll just see. It'll stop a vacuum leak. I think it's not like it's a real pressure spot there. It's just air. Anyway, now next is, and I did put this hose on here ready to go. So next is to get the, fuel stuff hooked up and the accelerator cable hooked up. It was here a minute ago, but it's gone. I'll get it, I'll find it. Now you adjust the richness and or the mixture on these things right here, and you turn that's the whole jet turns up and down, and it allows in here there's a needle that comes down into the jet, and it moves the jet up and down on the needle a bit, right? And so I've opened them both, I've closed them both all the way tight, shut, and then, or as far up as they go, and then I opened them both one turn out. That one there was about 3/4 turn out to start with, and I made it one turn out. This one here, I don't even know, I just made it one turn out. And I'll leave it at that for starters to see if I can get the mixture figured out right. Now the way it says in the book is that you're supposed to just, like, it's got a little button over here somewhere. Where's that little button? There's a button somewhere. Where's the button? Right here. See this button right here? You just push that little button up in it, and it opens the, see that? It pushes that up a bit. So when that happens, it's supposed to be, if the mixture is set right, it should just sort of slow down and then come back to an idle again. But it seems that that's doesn't work entirely correctly all the time, so we'll just see how things go. Yeah, I get you caught up here. So here's the carburetors are in and the fuel lines are on. This one here I've left open for now, which is the return line. I don't know where it is, somewhere right there. I just have it, I'm going to leave it open until such time as maybe forever, but we'll just see. Anyhow, this, and then the wiring for the oil sending unit is here, and it goes across there into, there's a grommet over there that I put it through into the motor compartment. Figure that side out after. Next is the maybe the wiring for the motor and setting up, see if I can get the spark to set up right if I can remember how to do that, right? Okay, I put a battery in it. It's not the right battery, but it'll do for testing. And hooked up all the wires down here. There's 2 wires that come off the starter that are for one's the ignition to make it to ignite the what do you call that? The solenoid switch on the starter, and the other one is power to ignition and stuff. So now I've plugged that in and the clock is running, so that's a good sign. And now I'll see if I can turn the key on. I wonder where the key is on this thing right there. Oh, see what happens when I turn the key on. See if I get lights or something of some sort. Oh boy, all these cars are so difficult to get into. Hey. Oh, it turned. I don't see ignition lights anywhere. Maybe it's made lots of noise. Should be a light on up here somewhere, right? There. That's the fuel pump going. And that thing there says ignition. So that was just now I have to set it back to top dead center again, because that was the point of it, is to get it to top dead center, turn on the ignition, and then set the timing, right? So I think we have ignition, because I've got an electric fuel pump in it, plus I have the fuel pump that runs off here. There's a fuse in the over there. There's a fuse that I can turn off that electric fuel pump with. I just pull the fuse. Now, where am I here? It turned it, yeah, so I gotta bring this back again to the right position. And then I've got, I've got a spark plug here on a ground, like somewhere where it's grounded. I'll make sure it's grounded. Then I can turn, when the ignition's turned on, it's got I've got an electronic ignition in there that's this lumination or something like that. Where is it called? What's it called? CEM illustration. Here's all the instructions for it, right? Lumination Performance Ignition System. And there's a wiring diagram for it and all that kind of stuff. So I think I've got it wired right. But what it says to do to check for spark, you put high tension wire on the coil, and then in this case I put a spark plug here. It just says put it close to a ground, so that the spark will jump, but it's just as easy to see it on a spark plug if you get it hooked on there, right? Set this to top dead center, which I've missed right now, and then go ahead and after that to just turn the distributor back and forth until you get a spark out of that thing there, and that'll test that the system is working right, number one, and it'll also show you where a starting point for setting up the timing will be number 2. Okay, so I'll get that done. Yeah, so the rotor is pointed towards that nut, which is number 1 cylinder ready to fire. This is at top dead center, number 1 cylinder ready to fire. And now I'll turn on the ignition. I'll see if I can get that thing to spark or not. Yeah, so it did make spark, and the easier way is to put a test light here, hook that to the whatever you call it, negative side of the coil, and as soon as the spark breaks, or as soon as the ignition breaks, then that's, see that? Test light comes on. Where is it? Right there. So right there is where it's going to be happy, and I got to tighten it down there. There we go. So the wires are on, like this is number 1, goes to right there, number 3, number 4, and number 2. turns that way, counterclockwise, which is, I learned that a long time ago when I had it hooked up backwards. I figured it turned that way, not in that way. Anyway, that's okay. That's a long time ago. Now, I think I'm ready to put the radiator in, but should I just turn it and see if I can make it sputter? Maybe I'll think about that for a few minutes here. We'll see. Radiator put back into it, and I've got a couple of cables on the underneath the hookup, one of them being the what do you call that? The reverse lights. So maybe I'll put it up in the air and I'll get those things hooked up. Then I'll get the radiator into it, and then we'll just see where we go from there. Okay, here I am underneath it, right? And the reverse wire hooks right there. You can see that green and brown wire coming in there. And it goes up to the front here somewhere. Right on there. Right there. And hooks into the wiring harness. And goes up into the top up there, right? Anyway, that's good. So that should work. We'll just see what happens next now. After oh, there, radiator's back in after a bit of a fight, and I painted it up. Then I got fingerprints all over it, but it looks a bit better than it did before. Anyway, I think that radiator got re-cored sometime, not too distant past. But who knows, eh? Anyway, now I think that's pretty near it for today. I'll carry on again tomorrow. Yeah, it's 4:45 and time to quit for the day. Okay, here another day. Back at the TR7, right? And it's Canada Day today. Happy Canada Day. There you go. What do you do on Canada Day? Work on a British car, right? Good idea. Anyway, the all the hoses are hooked up. There's no water dripping down below. I sort of, I took the radiator and gave it a clean up and painted it. It might have been re-cored recently, or like recently run-wise. And one of these little rubber things down below wasn't very good, so I stole them from above, and I put another one on one that, like a piece of flat rubber in there, doesn't have the center piece, but this keeps it from going anywhere, so that'll hold all right. And I can always put a piece of rubber hose on there if I feel so inclined. Everything's hooked up except for the what do you call it, the oil pressure gauge, which it's hooked up, but I need electricity to it. So I'm going to hook the battery and see which one of these ones here provides power, because all we need is ignition power and what else? Ignition power and a ground. And I can hook that into the wiring out here instead of trying to find something underneath the dash, eh? And I think that one, I think this wire here is hot when the ignition's on. I know that one's hot when the ignition's on, but that's the wire for the coil, so I don't really want to hook it to that. But we could. I don't think it'd hurt anything. Okay. Whoa, where am I here? This is the coil wire, which is hot with ignition. That's the wire that goes to the electronic ignition thing. Anyhow, I hooked that up to the oil pressure gauge. Let's just see if it gets light when I turn it on. When I turn on the ignition, we'll see what happens. Okay? Whoops. What's going on here now? Okay. Oh yeah. There it is. Lots of. It's all set to go. Now I'll just do one more check and see if the car's all set to go. Might run, might not. We'll just see. See what happens. I'll get some stuff cleaned up out of the way, so in case I gotta move fast. There we go. That's the choke there. That you just pull it out and turn it to the side and it holds it. And then fuel, yeah, that seems to come and go. See what happens. Nothing. Yeah, it made a start and then it quit. There now, I put a bit of two-stroke gas down the thing. See what happens here if I turn the key now. That started it up and quit again. Okay, well that's promising. Oh, it looks like something was living in there, right? Eviction day, right? Well, we'll see. I'll give it a few more tries, see if I get it to run. Let's see what happens this time. Well, there. That's promising. Yeah, had to run with the choke on. It goes, but with the choke off, it won't go. I'll try it again. I'll just run it for a bit and see what happens. That's a promising sign, right? There, that makes you happy when the motor runs. Yeah, that's very encouraging. Now it's got you can hear an exhaust leak on this side here. I'll have to follow up on that a bit. I think it's an exhaust leak. See how we can do about that. But I won't worry about that right away until later. Anyway, might have to take that off and put some goopy goop on there. I was hoping not to. These things here, that's running better than it's ever run before though. And I don't hear any horrible knocking out of the motor. I'm here we're going to idle it down a bit. Oh, didn't like that. Anyway, that's all right. I'll shut it off for a bit. So now, when I started it there, and it started up all right, hey? So when I started it, then when I first set it up, I set up the richness down here. I don't know if you can see that. See that thing there? That you turn that to adjust the rich or lean on the fuel mixture. So when I first put it together, I turned that all the way up tight. Then I turned both of them out 2 full turns. So then, like, that's how many flats. You count flats on the nut there. Then it would run when I started it. It would run with the choke out. So that meant, but it wouldn't run when I put the choke in. So that meant that it was too lean. It wasn't rich enough mixture to make it run. So I turned them out 3 flats each, tried it again, same thing, turned it out another 3 flats each. So I think I got it 2 turns plus about 8 flats each, so that's likely 4 turns altogether. 3.5 turns maybe altogether. And then it seemed to run all right until I let the idle down and it quit again. But that's, you know, I'm so far so good. See if any oil's going up into the top end here. Oh, hot anyhow. Yeah, it looks like there's oil splashing around in there. Wait, I'll get a light and we'll have a look. Excuse me. Yeah, it looks like there's oil splashing around up there. Okay, lots of oil splashing around up there. That's good news. So the oil is getting all the way to the top, and in fact it's coming out the top. This isn't a very good seal, this thing. So I'll do something about that. Well, yeah, I'll do something about it. And then, sounds like everything's okay. Well, I'll let it cool off a bit, then I'll tighten up those, whatever you call those things that hold the manifold on. The nuts that hold the manifold on. I'll see if I can get them a bit tighter so it's not making noise. And if that doesn't work, I'll have to take that apart and put some goopy goop on there or something. It might be down here that it's leaking, or it might be up there that it's leaking. I don't know. Maybe goopy goop everything, right? That orange stuff that you use on exhaust pipes. I think it's around 1200 RPM. It's hard to say with this thing here. It jumps all over the place. But I could put a counter on there. I will do that. And I did the timing on it. Like you can see down there. And about 10 degrees before. Anyway, sorry about that. I'll cut that out of it. So I did I took the vacuum hose off there and I sucked on it and it changed the timing down here. And the balance on the carburetors is, that one's about 11 there, right? And this one here, can't see it very well, but it's about the same, pretty awful close. So they're balanced out, and the throttle is very responsive. So, as luck would have it, I think I got it right, except for that awful noise coming out of there that I'll have to fix. It's right there. Okay, I can fix that. That's an easy fix. Okay. So now I think we're okay for everything here. Just a matter of getting the electrics on to work on these things again, because you leave it sitting for a while and of course nothing works. The temperature gauge just about out of fuel. Temperature gauge is non-working, but I've been using my whatever you call that thing, and the tachometer in there is non-working. And that was all working before, but I've been using my thing here, and it seems like it's 168 degrees on the bottom part of the thermostat, and it's 156 on the top. So, and then out here, 127 on this side of the radiator. And this side of the radiator is 166. So something's working. I think that side there, which side, this is the return side here. And that's the takeout side over there. So the bottom pipe would be important, right? So it's 120 on the bottom pipe and 141 on the top pipe. So I think things are circulating. And here, this is 114. This little pipe here, 112. Okay, so excuse me. It seems to be everything's okay. Also, do this little richness test. You're supposed to be able to push up on that, and the motor quit. So that means, what does that mean? I have to dip. Try that one. Yeah, and the motor quit. So does that mean it's too rich or too lean? I think too lean. I'm going to let it out a half a turn and see what I'll let it out flat and see what happens. So I turn this side out 2 flat. I turn that side out about 5 flat, and I'll see what happens now. That's what it's supposed to do. You hold it up and it's supposed to come back to idling like that. Try this one. That one's got to come out just a bit more, eh? One more flat to do. See, that's just about right. This side here just goes all right. Let this out another flat. Nobody said they had to be exactly the same, I guess. I think I gotta go back one. Maybe 2. Yeah, that's happier there. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get it. Now, I'll check my clean paper towel test and see how it's coming out the end here.
Sounds okay.
And fairly clean. A little bit of dirt on it. I can't. I'll try it again. Right there. Yeah, it's clean. So, I've got a clean exhaust. So things must be fairly close to right. 1100, it seems to settle down to 1100, 1200 RPM. I could turn it down the RPMs a bit, and that'll be good. I'll just do that. Let's see. That's about right there, about 960, 980. This thing here, about 7 and a bit right on. Seven right on. So that one there is faster, so it's got to come down a tiny bit. Now these things here, they're synchronized together, but there's springs on that part too, so right on 7, right on 7. That's running pretty nice. About 950 RPM. I think I could be happy with that. So I just have to fix this exhaust leak here. I'll pull that off, group that up, and put it back together. And now, I think I can leave that. That'll be that for this one. Let me just check the temperature again before we leave you. Oh, where's my temperature checker? I would if I could find my temperature checker. Here it is. So on the bottom of the 172 on the head side, 165 on the hot top side. So the thermostat's open, the radiator's working. 138 on this side, which is the cool side. 126, 127 on water going in. 133 on water coming out. I think we're okay. Go and get in there. 153 on the water going in the metal there. Right here. 160 on the water going in. 175 on the water coming out. So something's working. And that sounds pretty good. That's everything sounds pretty good. Yeah, oil's coming out the top of here. I'll fix that up one of these days. Okay, leave it at that. I'll spend another little while getting it all buttoned together with the hood on it and stuff like that. And but it sounds really nice. It sounds better than it did on the previous time. And I think that better check the oil pressure. Let's check the oil pressure before I forget. Yeah, the idling oil pressure is up around 35, jumping around there, 33, 35. So that's good. That jumping around business, I think, is the electrics. It's not anything to do with the steady oil pressure. It's more to do with Lucas Electrics. So there you are. This time for sure, leave it there. See you now, and I hope you have an enjoyable long weekend here. Yeah, happy Canada Day, everybody. It's July 1st, 2024. Things are pretty good around here. That peony is pretty near done. Yeah, get the big flag out for Canada Day, and then little flag up on the pole there. There you go. So we'll head to the beach, check in down there. Yeah, here it is. Very calm today, but not much sun around. Cloudy and grim for July 1st. And there hasn't been much traffic with boats and stuff out. It's been too cold and windy. Windy and wavy and all that, but have a look at this, eh? That's the blanket of roses. And then a blanket of pink ones over there. There you go. And there's a heron right there. I don't know if you can see him or not, but he's there. And out that way is a doggy. See you later.